Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Amber Monroe, host of the Ties That Bind DFW podcast. My goal is to help everyone get to know each other here in the Metroplex and help connect people through their personal stories in a world where so much is artificial and there's so much drama. I just really want to bring it back to everyone's personal stories and help promote local businesses and just to grow as a community. I am so excited today to have my very good friend, Miss JeQuithia Sims, NDTR. She is a nutrition specialist. She's going to tell us all about that. She's got her little one here who we are blessed to have with us today as well. She is a mom on the go, and I completely understand that. Hi, precious. Well, first, JeQuithia, to get started, go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about what you do, your family, etc.
Okay. I am JeQuithia Sims, and I am a nutrition and dietetic technician registered. Basically, that is a person who works under a registered dietitian nutritionist. I can also work independently, doing certain things. I have to make sure I'm within my hold on, within my scope and sequence. Okay. Hey. This is the youngest of five. Hey, no, we're
She's ready to be the star today.
Yeah. She's the youngest of five. We have my husband and I, we have 5 kids, 21, 16, 11, 9, and 2. I'm also a homeschooling mom. So yes, we're very busy. I only homeschool right now the 11 and 9-year-old. Yes, that's my book. With the 2-year-old in tow. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
And so that is our life, just busy with, as you can see, especially with the toddler. She keeps us on our toes.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Yeah. And I can personally attest to Miss JeQuithia. I feel like she kind of does it all. You are a super mom in my eyes. So I'll just get into this for a little bit. Kind of what made you decide to pursue nutrition? And if you can kind of explain, what led you into this passion of yours.
So actually, I became interested in nutrition when I was working in pharmacy. My background is pharmacy. I spent 15 plus years in the pharmacy field working in retail, mail order, dialysis pharmacist. And then the last part, like the last 5 years of my pharmacy career, I taught at a career college teaching pharmacy technicians and things like that. And so I noticed like a lot of times people would come into the pharmacies, the different medications that they needed. And I'm a researcher. Like I love reading books. I'm always, I want to gain knowledge. So I read a lot and I know a lot of the things that not only is it sometimes genetic, but sometimes it's also like the foods that we eat and what we're putting in our bodies. That doesn't negate the fact that, your socioeconomic status and like if you're in a food desert and things like that. But, those who are low income and, are in those food deserts tend to have the diabetes and the high blood pressure and things like that, combined with if it runs in their genetics. And then as I was teaching, one of my favorite units was the nutrition unit. And it was a 9-month long course, but each module was like a month long. And so I always look forward to the nutrition module because that's the time when, the students were able to create a nutrition plan and, come up with a more like healthy diet and things like that based on what they already eat. So whether no matter their background, so they could gear it toward what they like to eat and how they can make it quote unquote healthier, or what can they add to make it more nutritious and things like that. So it's always, even as adults, I taught at a college. So anywhere from 18, I had students as young as 18 all the way up to 60. And they're looking at this and they was like, oh my God, like I can just add certain things and I don't necessarily have to cut this out. It's my favorite food. I don't have to get rid of it. I can just add different things, like whether they add more protein or they add a healthier fat,
Mm.
and things like that to make it better for them. And then my husband, he had wanted to, lose some weight. And so I started helping him with that. And he was like, "You're really good at this. Like, maybe you should get into it."
Mhm.
And so I researched it and, to see what would be best. And I ended up finding the program at TCC. There were only
Mm.
college that had the NDTR program to where you become an NDTR that was local and accredited compared to going somewhere else or becoming a dietitian, full-on dietitian. Not sure
Okay.
if I want to go on to be a dietitian. Right now, I'm okay with this. There is more schooling that I would have to do to become a dietitian. And
Okay.
right now, I don't have the capacity to do that. To add on that,
Wonder
maybe,
why. No.
so, it's something I've thought about, but right now I'm happy
Yeah.
just doing the things that I can do now to help support, busy moms and homeschooling families and things
Yes.
like that.
Wow. No, that's wonderful. And I'm glad you mentioned, low income families, people, like you said, living in a food desert. That's important that, they have this kind of information as well, because, some people don't have those advantages. And it's great, to have someone like you in their corner to help guide them towards healthy choices with what they have,
Right.
um, I think that's so important and great. I was going to ask also, when with your business and certification, what kind of things do people come to you for that are like their main pain points? What are they usually asking of you for guidance on?
A lot of times people, want meal plans. Like, they're
Okay.
busy already, so they might say, "Hey, can you create a meal plan for me?" I have one lady, her kids are in sports but they also have food
Okay.
allergies. So I created,
Mhm.
something to help them like get the extra protein that they might need. And so created that for her and, it worked for her boys for, a while and they were able to adjust it how they needed to, or, it just gave her an idea of what to use. And, her boys were teenagers, so they were able to do the stuff on their own too. So not necessarily just
Yeah.
her doing it and things like that. Um, and
Nice.
so, okay, here you go. And then sometimes my uncle, I actually meal prepped for him. So he, I meal planned and then I meal prepped for him as well. And so let's see, what else have I done? I've taken people on grocery store tours. Um,
Oh,
and so like so they can see like either how to price match, keep something in their budget, or like how to shop the perimeter of the grocery store and not necessarily like the inner side. The inner side has mostly more
okay.
processed foods. And I'm not against
Mhm.
processed foods at all. Because again, we have people who are low income or their food deserts might only have processed foods. And I
Right.
think processed foods get a bad rep anyway, because even oatmeal is processed.
True.
You're not eating whole wheat. You're not eating the wheat stalk. They have to process it and things like that.
Right.
And so I think that, we hear these buzzwords and then it's like, "Oh no, that's bad for us." But it's like if you have to, like, there are times when my kids eat fish sticks and fries. Okay, what can I do to make that healthier? I can serve it with green beans, or I might serve, make
Yeah.
sure they have fruit. Because again, we're busy parents and everybody can't cook from scratch all the time. And I love cooking
Right.
from scratch, but I have a clingy toddler. We like
Yeah.
to call her our stage 5 clinger. So I can't always, stand up and make things from scratch. That's also
Right.
where meal prepping comes along. But again, we're a family of 7. I have, 6 other people I need to make sure are,
Mhm.
taken care of. And I also need to, my me time. So there are things like we might eat, um, like I said, fish sticks and fries, or we might eat chili dogs. But again, what can you add to that to make it nutritious and not necessarily, demonize these foods that some people don't have a choice
Right.
but to eat. We all make our
Right.
choices. as long as you're not eating it
Mhm.
like every day or something like that, I'm not here
Right.
to tell you, hey, you can't eat that. Only time I'll tell you don't eat something if you're allergic to it or if you just don't like it. So I'm not a fan of bananas. Everybody else in my house, they love bananas. So I buy bananas. They eat it. If they
Yeah.
don't eat it fast enough, we make banana bread. I eat banana bread.
Yeah.
I just don't eat bananas. We make
Right.
those bananas in a smoothie. But I can't have too many. The taste of bananas, like, it's, I don't know. But I would drink it in a smoothie, but the banana can't, like, I have to mask the banana with other stuff.
It can't be like the
And
texture and like, I just bit
yes,
into a banana.
yes. And
Okay.
so it's like, but I remember I had a friend who's I used to keep her kid, and we'll have like strawberries and stuff like that. She's like, I don't like strawberries. I'm like, okay, you don't like strawberries, that's fine. And so one day I was like, well, why don't you like strawberries? And the baby, she's like 5. She's like, because my mom doesn't like strawberries.
Oh,
So she had never
no.
tasted a strawberry before. It's just my mom doesn't like
Oh.
strawberries, so I don't like strawberries. So I was like, here, try it.
Oh.
She ended up liking strawberries, and so I told her mom, which is actually my cousin. I said, hey, buy her some strawberries. She likes strawberries. You don't have to eat them, but so
Yeah,
it's like, I
right?
think once it's so funny, like the things that we pass down to our kids, not even thinking about it. And so I'm just like, all right, they
Yes.
like bananas. I don't like bananas. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not buying bananas because you don't like it,
Right.
because I don't like
Right.
it. But
Exactly.
that, just different things that I do. I may do, like I said, the meal planning, grocery store tours, just to help people see, like, what can you shop and stand within a budget. Because again, a lot of people are living on a budget. We have a budget as well, and I try to stay within
Right.
a certain amount. I do a lot of my grocery shopping at Aldi, and
Mhm.
so because that's we can get a lot of things for more money than if I shop other places. I'm also a big
Right.
Costco fan and buy bulk, and things
Mhm.
like that. Just depends on what our family needs are.
Yeah. Mhm. Um, I was gonna say another thing that I admire you for is your budget savviness with groceries. We could probably do a whole separate podcast. Maybe we will one day on your methods for shopping within your budget, making these great meals. Um, you're really good at that. And that kind of brings me to my next question, which we kind of touched on it before. What advice would you give for someone who, also likes to cook at home and from scratch, but maybe their kids don't want to eat that. Maybe they do want to eat kind of other foods. It's me. I'm the person. No, you kind of spoiler alert. No, you kind of mentioned it before with different processed foods, but kind of how would you maybe walk me through the process of a meal and that's maybe not something that's homemade, but they just want to grab something, and how might I make that healthier a little bit? Mhm.
Okay, so noodles. I have kids that
Okay.
love noodles. I have one kid that
Yes.
if they could eat noodles every day, they would. And it's something that they can cook on their own. So
Okay.
I say, hey, go make you a package of noodles, whether it's in the microwave. I have one kid that doesn't like it in the microwave. They rather have it cooked on the stove. And so I'm gonna use the one that likes it in the microwave. So this kid will go put it in the microwave, and I tell them, hey, there's fruit in there, or add some vegetables to it, whether that's
Okay.
frozen broccoli or something like that. They like to add cheese to it, so they doctor it up how they like to do it.
Okay.
And I keep fruit in the house for them because fruit, they all like fruit. It doesn't matter, berries, they would eat frozen fruit, they would eat refrigerated fruit, they don't care, they just want fruit. So I'm just like, yes, go eat fruit. Like, we keep fruit. That's probably most of our budget right there is fruit.
Okay.
And so, but there are nutrition, there are new, it's nutritionist, yes, nutritious, I can't talk. And so, and a lot of times that, and frozen fruit is actually picked and frozen at its ripeness. So I keep that
Hmm.
because that's more nutritious than when it's, has to go through a truck and all that. It's kind of losing its nutritional
True.
factor. So we have berries and they make a smoothie,
Hmm.
or they like yogurt parfaits. So they might eat noodles and a yogurt parfait, or noodles and
Hmm.
a banana, or noodles and strawberries or grapes. Whatever we have in there, they will eat it. The kid who likes to make it on the stove, we like to call it fancy noodles. So we make it
Mm.
with we kind of like stir fry it in teriyaki sauce. Again, like
Ooh.
when the noodles are boiling, we might add
Okay.
a frozen vegetable in there. Normally, whatever we have is like frozen broccoli. They like broccoli, and we put teriyaki sauce on it, or sweet soy sauce.
Mm.
So it helps them. And then they might put green onions. We try to keep green onions in the house, so they chop that up and put green onions on it. So it's, and then pair it with some fruit. Again, have fruit.
Nice.
It doesn't, like, you don't have to just focus on vegetables. Say, oh, you have to eat a vegetable, because some vegetables and some fruits have the same nutrition content in it. So it's like, if you
Right.
want them to have more fiber, then it doesn't necessarily have to be a vegetable. If they can eat an apple, give it to them. You
Okay.
want them to
Yeah.
eat, and as long as they're eating and getting nourished, we don't want to demonize food or make food like a reward, or you know um, I just try to make sure, I just try to say eat it. And or if I cook something that they
Mhm.
don't necessarily like, or if it's a new food, I try to always make something that they like. And then if it's a new food, only do like one new food, and I put a little on their plate.
Okay.
Like my toddler, all of a sudden she doesn't like eggs.
Mhm.
Okay, fine.
Mm.
You don't have to eat the eggs. So she eats yogurt parfaits a lot for breakfast. And I do Greek yogurt. All my
Mhm.
kids eat Greek yogurt. I add some chia seeds, add a little honey. We do plain Greek yogurt. Sometimes I do vanilla, but I try to watch the added sugar content. So I try to get plain, and we can add our own sweeteners, um, and
Right.
and sugar content to it, whatever we need. Which is normally I add honey. May do chia seeds, and
Mhm.
then I add either fresh or frozen fruit to it, and she eats that.
Mm.
Sometimes we do smoothies for breakfast, what are for snacks. And again, you add what you want to add. You can, with the smoothies, like my husband, he likes what we call beet formula. So it's beets and then whatever other frozen fruit or vegetables we have. Whatever I have, I just throw it into the blender.
Okay.
And sometimes the kids will see me making it. It's like, can we taste it? So apparently they like beet formula. They like beet smoothies. so
Oh,
so
okay.
and it's
That's
like,
what's up.
and it's like, okay, they never would have tried it. So I don't say, oh, you won't like this, or they ask me, do I like this? I said, I'm not sure. Try it. So I don't make
Yeah.
it a big deal. And I think
Okay.
a lot of times when parents make it a big deal, or say, you have to eat that, or eat, or clear your plate. I'm not a clear your plate type of parent. I say, here,
Right.
try it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I do like for them to at least try it before they say they don't like it. So take a bite. If you
Gotcha.
don't like it, that's fine. It takes like 21 tries for them to even get their taste buds to like it. So again, I don't make a big deal. I don't say, hey, well,
Oh,
you can't have dessert if you don't eat this. Because there are times when I don't even clear a plate as an adult and I still want some ice cream or a slice of
right.
cake or
Yes.
something like that. So I'm not that type of parent that's gonna say, well, no, you can't have this. Do I just let them eat candy or snacks all day? No, I don't. But I make it a balance, and they know, okay, hey,
Right.
like we have. Actually, I went to Trader Joe's not too long ago, and we still have most of the sweets that I bought. They're not eating the sweets like that, and my husband isn't eating sweets like that anymore. And I'm just like, oh, like things are changing around here. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, we'll just freeze it or something, so it doesn't go
Yeah.
bad. And
Right.
so I think as parents, as long as we don't make it a big deal, or try
Right.
to force them to do it, because as parents, it's our job to, decide what they're going to eat. It's their job to eat what they want. So you may serve it,
Right.
they may not like it.
Right.
And I'm not going to make separate meals. So I would not make separate meals for my
Oh, okay.
toddler. I do get those. Sometimes I get those little frozen meals for her, like from Nurture Life. And
Yeah.
so she likes meatballs, so I might have those and I put those in the
Oh.
freezer. For my older kids, I try to keep, lunch meat, peanut butter, or nut butter, or whatever. We have like to keep noodles. So if they don't want to eat it, they have other things, but I'm not going to make a separate meal for them
Okay.
necessarily. Um, if they don't want to eat what I make, but I do try to at least have something. Like if I'm gonna cook a meal, I try to have at least one thing that they're going to eat, one or two things
Okay.
that I know that they're going to eat. And then if
Gotcha.
it's a new
Okay.
food, I just give them a little bit, so I don't and get them in the kitchen. Another thing, get help, let them help you. Sometimes we're so busy, we're like, oh, I can't, like it's just going to take longer to do. Um,
Yes.
to make dinner and things like that. And it will, but try to get them in the kitchen, because a lot of times if they are helping you, then they
Mhm.
tend to want to try to, they'll tend to taste it,
That's
a
true.
little better. And so for those of us who have multiple kids, we may not want to bring all the kids in the kitchen with us. So I try to set up time where, okay, this day you're going to help me in the kitchen. This day you're going to help me in the kitchen. And so like depending on how big your kitchen is, you may not be able to, have all the kids in there at the same time. So you may want to say, all right, well, they're going to help crack the eggs. Okay. They crack the eggs. Now you can come cook the eggs or something like that, depending on what it
Okay.
is. But I think like getting kids involved in the kitchen, I try to start my kids in the kitchen at 2. All of my kids have started
Mm.
at 2. I have like my 21-year-old, she loves to help cook. The 11-year-old, he likes to cook. The 9-year-old likes to bake. The 16-year-old, she will
Mm.
help. She's with us. We split time with her other parents, so she's with us, and so she'll come. Like when she's here, she likes to bake too. So I have 2 that love
Mm.
to cook, and I have 2 that like to bake. So it's kind of like, okay, well, you want to cook,
Hey.
and so I try, to bring them in, and things like that, and so. Um, there have been times where I'm like, okay, like for Mother's Day, my 11-year-old, he was like, you won't have to do anything. So he got up and he made
Oh.
avocado toast, and so,
Oh.
but that's something easy that they all like avocado toast. And it's like, who knew,
Yeah.
kids that young would like, and they've liked it for a while. So it's not anything, that is new. It's just like, okay, they may not want everything on it. So one kid may not want tomatoes on it, but they'll put, and sometimes we might do spinach or we might have arugula, it just depends. So like you find what your kids will like, um and it's a work in progress. My 9-year-old was the pickiest eater I've ever had.
Oh.
And for a long time, like there were only certain foods that she would eat, and guess what? I let her eat it. She finally grew out. She
Mhm.
would dip everything in barbecue sauce because she loved barbecue sauce. So yes, we
Okay.
we kept
Yeah.
barbecue sauce, but it got her
Yes.
to eat. And so she's since graduated from barbecue sauce. There are other sauces that she likes now, but she
Okay.
likes sushi now. She's trying
Mhm.
things that I never. She was like, okay, I'll try it. Like they tried things that I never thought that they would try, because I've turned my mindset from, all right, you have to eat this, you have to eat this. If you don't eat this, you don't get this. And I've turned it into, okay, sometimes I put dessert on the plate at the same time as the food, so, but again, they get to
Okay.
choose
Yeah.
what they want to eat. There are times, what are those girl meals, is that what they call them, girl dinners, like,
Girl dinner.
sometimes you see the girl dinners, like it's not anything fancy, but it's like, okay,
Right.
well, as an adult, I like certain things, and this is time for kids to explore, and
Right.
um things like that. And so I feel like, I mean, there are even adults now who only eat chicken nuggets and fries. And it's like, all right.
Yeah.
And it's because, a lot of times we demonize, their parents probably demonized it. And so that's just what they got used to. Or I know growing up,
Yeah.
I did not like peas and carrots. And so there were a lot of times that I
Mm.
couldn't eat dessert. So I'm not even a big sweet fan, probably because I couldn't eat, like if I didn't eat my food, clear my plate, I couldn't get dessert. Or they was like, well,
Mm.
if you don't eat all your food, then you don't get this. And I was just like, okay, well, I just won't eat it. I won't get dessert. Like that was fine. So
Mhm.
I don't eat a
Yeah.
lot of sweets, probably because of that. Or when I do eat sweets, there are times where I'm like, I just crave sweets, and I'm just like, oh, like I'm just eating all the sweets. Give me all the sweets, right? And
Yeah.
so so I want my kids to have a balance. And so, like I said, I keep sweets in the house. I keep fruit. I keep vegetables, and it's just like, all right. I try to keep the frozen meals because sometimes my toddler is still nursing. She's clingy and she takes contact naps. She doesn't always nap on her own. So there are times where the other kids are like,
Yeah.
well, we're hungry. I'm just like, all right, well, go find something in there to eat. Just pair it with some fruit. Get some fruit. As long
Right.
as you have some fruit, I'm good with that. And
Yeah.
then one kid, that's all they will eat. They were just like, I just want fruit. I just want fruit. I'm like, okay, go eat the fruit. Sometimes I just bought those berries. Like, why is the whole plate
Oh,
gone?
yes. The struggle, girl. Oh man. Wow. Yeah, no, that's I can definitely relate to that. We go through blueberries. Oh, you would think we had a blueberry farm in our backyard. No, but that's great. And I love how I'm similar in the way that, maybe eat a few bites and then you can have dessert. I've never been a clean your plate and have dessert mom because, like you said, I am going to have some dessert and I always want everyone to have dessert. If we're having dessert, I want everyone to have some, like, and meet them where they are. Like, if,
Right.
if one kid I know is going to suck down a whole plate of spaghetti, go for it. If one kid's probably going to pick around, I'm like, we'll take a few bites and we're all having dessert. I mean, that's kind of the kind of mom I am, I think.
Oh,
But no, those
it's
are,
spaghetti.
yes.
And so that's a good spaghetti. So that's a good way to add, fruit, vegetables in there. So
Okay.
like you can blend up like carrots or chop up carrots.
Mm,
And if you blend it up, it kind of gives carrots are kind of sweet, so it kind of gives it
okay.
like sweetness to it. And then like add
Mm,
whole wheat pasta instead of regular pasta, because then you're
yeah.
getting the fiber and um, the the fiber, and it's whole wheat instead of the regular pasta. If that's something like if
Yeah.
you're trying to watch your carbs, they even have like the chickpea pasta if you want to do that.
That's good.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
do meat. A lot of times we do meat sauce. So I
Hmm.
may do ground beef, or there may times when I do Italian sausage, or I may do ground turkey or
Ooh.
ground chicken, whatever you find on sale. A lot of times, um, I've done um, I've done it vegetarian style, like with lentils.
Oh.
I do squash and zucchini, so I might chop that up and do mushrooms. Also, I'm not a mushroom fan, texture thing,
Mm.
but I will
Okay.
add that
Okay.
to to the sauce, to spaghetti sauce or to lasagna and things like that. And that's a way to get vegetables in without the kids knowing. A lot
Right.
of people are against that because they're like, well, you're sneaking it in and stuff like that. But sometimes as parents, we have to do what we have to do. Sometimes
Yes.
the kids know, sometimes my kids know that there's vegetables in it. Um, they may not eat all the vegetables. They may pick them out, especially if it's chunky. But if it's blended
Mm.
up, they don't really know. I blended up
Yeah.
spinach in it before, but they like spinach. But it's just like things because I'm trying to make. A lot of times it's become, I don't want the vegetables to go bad, so I'm just like, what can I throw in here?
Yeah.
We've
Right.
done primavera, which is just filled with vegetables. So and it's no meat.
Oh wow.
And I tend to find that kids like things covered in cheese
Mm.
or
Same.
some type of sauce. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, if you're gonna eat it, I don't care. I just want you to eat, and I want you to,
Hmm.
I rather them eat than not to eat at all, because then they're not getting any nutritional value if they're not eating. And
Sure.
so
Sure.
so I just try to find what works, and it may work one day and then the next day it may not work, but
Yeah.
hey, that's fine. It's trial and error. They won't always be picky eaters. Like I said, my 9-year-old, has grown so much in
Yeah.
what she would eat. And she's more
Mm.
willing to try things now than she was in the past.
Oh, that's good. That's a testament to your amazing nutritional upbringing for them. That's wonderful. Um, I'm a little proud because I finally got my 13-year-old. He'll make a smoothie now, and with cottage cheese, knowing there's cottage cheese in there, and what else? berries, I think, and some like healthy green powder. So that's my win, my one win that I'm excited about. But after a few times of him asking for it and me giving it to him, then eventually he started seeing me make it and he didn't freak out about cottage cheese. And I was like, yes. So you're right, letting them kind of peek in on it and see what you're
Yeah.
doing. And yeah, and I'm gonna take those other tips too, because you need to write a book.
Who
um,
knows?
you know, oh, I'm just saying. um, well, I want to ask, I have two more questions. First, what is, and you may have mentioned this before, but what's one thing um, you wish that people could know about like healthy nutrition that they could take away from today that you feel like people don't normally understand about that?
Okay, so I feel like people like they look at certain foods and they just demonize them. Oh, that's
Okay.
processed. Like I said, like the
Mm,
processed foods. I feel like
okay.
that's the biggest thing. Um, but again, I'm not saying that it has to be perfect. Are processed foods, ultra processed foods, perfect? No. But is it going to get your child to eat? Are you going to be able to eat? Is it going to make your
Mm,
life easier? If the
okay.
answers to those questions are yes, then just add something to go with that. It doesn't have to be so. Add a vegetable, add a salad. I keep bag
Yeah.
salads. I try to keep bag salads at home, um, and also, and it's not like you're eating it all the time for 3 meals a day. There
Right.
may be times where, like, we have kid in baseball, we have kid in volleyball. We're homeschoolers. We are always on the go. We do a lot of things that sometimes
Yeah.
I'm just tired at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
so I might do chili dogs. And me and one of my kids, we like coleslaw on our chili dogs. So those are vegetables.
Mm,
It's carrots
okay.
and cabbage. My husband and other kids are not fond of that. Guess what? Turn it into a salad. We also have salad, or
Yeah.
just what can you pair it with? And don't feel bad, because as long as your kids are eating, they're getting, nutritional value. Look at the back of, see what it has in there. Okay, can we
Mm,
cut out the sodium? All right, if we have this much sodium for lunch, maybe try not to have that much sodium at dinner time, or
okay.
like, it just really depends. And sometimes for us, because my husband works nights, our biggest meal of the day is lunch. So
Mm,
I might cook a lunch and we might have leftovers, or they may not want leftovers and they'll eat whatever. Um, but really, just the one thing, just, don't demonize the processed foods. Don't feel bad if that's what you can serve your kids. Just add
gotcha. Okay.
fruits or vegetables to it, because at the end of the day, you are feeding your kids. Um,
Mhm.
Money is tight for a lot of people. Get what's in your budget, and make it
Mhm.
work for your family. Don't listen to the outside hype. You're doing your best, especially if you know you're doing your
Indeed. So progress over perfection is what it
best.
sounds like.
Yeah, you'll get there eventually.
Awesome.
You'll get there eventually. Like I said, my family, they're not eating sweets like they were. So it's like, oh, especially my husband. I'm just used to him eating a lot of sweets. And then I'm just like,
Yeah.
why is this stuff still here? I just bought this. I'm used to it
Yeah.
being gone in like two
Oh,
days. But
right. That is progress though. Yeah. No, I get that. Oh, wow. That's amazing. I guess the last thing I wanted to ask, is there anything you want to talk about? Any events you have coming up? You can maybe talk about your website or where people can contact you.
So
Oh,
I don't have any events coming up right now, but you can
okay.
follow me on Instagram at the Homeschooling Nutritionist. I kind of
Okay.
talk about our homeschool journey. Um, it's been slow as far as like the nutrition part, but I'm working on ramping
Mm,
that up. Um,
yes. Mhm,
I'm also switching over. I used to be the caffeinated
mhm.
nutritionist, so I'm changing things over. So you might also see things that
Okay.
say caffeinated nutritionist, but I'm switching everything over to the homeschooling nutritionist. And if you follow me on
Okay.
Instagram, you can click the link. I do consultations. Just bring it to me. I do consultations as well, and you can
Okay.
see that on my. Say hi. And
Hi.
so that's on my website
Oh.
and things like that. And I have a few homeschooling things on there too on my website.
Awesome. And I'm going to link those on the different platforms that I'm sharing this so they can hopefully go right to this podcast and find you. Well, this is perfect timing. I think baby girl's ready for some mama time, and we're probably ready to wrap up. But thanks so much, JeQuithia, for taking the time to inform and educate us about nutrition. Hi, sweet baby girl. Thanks for joining us. Well, y'all be blessed. Have a great day, and we will see you next time on the Ties That Bind podcast, DFW. Thanks, JeQuithia.
Bye.
All.